So an estate plan, that's a kind of an umbrella term, right? So it means that it includes a lot of different things underneath it. It's the overall term for all of your documents. So a successful estate plan would include typically trust planning for most families. So and that takes the form of a revocable living trust typically. There are other types of trust planning, but that's the most common one that people hear about and have in place. And the trust plan is important because it helps to eliminate some of the core costs that when someone dies. It makes it a lot easier for families to move forward and administer an estate without having to go through any court proceedings. They're also important for any families that have minor children or special needs issues or disability issues, or even kids that are irresponsible and may not be good with money. So they kind of all those are all good reasons why trust planning works for people. So that's one of the big factors. Then a will is also part of that, an estate plan. And without a trust, a will becomes your document that kind of controls distribution. But with a trust, a will is really there just to kind of hold a place for that, just in case it's ever needed or probate's required. And also, if somebody has minor children and they have a trust, they still need a will here in Idaho for guardianship purposes. So a will is part of it, but typically with a trust, it serves a really minor role. Then we've got different kinds of powers of attorney. So we've got general, non-medical, financial type power of attorney. And that's where somebody gets to appoint an agent they trust to help them if they're incapacitated with non-medical decision making. We have a medical power of attorney, which deals with medical issues only. And we have a living will, which is different from a will. So people get those two things confused all the time. They think it's the same thing. Living will is if a person, for the most part, if they're ever in a persistent vegetative state and being kept alive by artificial life support, it's the type of ongoing medical treatment they want. So they can be kept alive, they can be minimized, they can pull the plug and let whatever happens. So that's what a living will is for. Other medical ones that we do a HIPAA, which is the Medical Privacy Act. We do an authorization so that loved ones can access medical information if you ever get to where you're incapacitated and you can't communicate or authorize that access. And then the last one, medical-wise, is we do a dementia directive. So as people age and as they lose their mental and potentially physical capabilities, then we have a directive that's in place to talk about oral feedings and drinking and hygiene and comfort and preferences to be at home and not in an institution. Just so all those things are set forth in that dementia directive. So those are the medical ones. And then the last one we typically do is a final disposition document for body or ashes. So if you want to be cremated, what would happen to your ashes? If you want to be buried, where would the body go? And it also authorizes somebody to be in charge of all of that. So from my perspective, that is what would be all included in the estate plan. Now, one other bonus, I guess, is that if you have a trust plan, that what we do is we make sure that trust is all funded correctly, meaning that all of your assets are titled correctly in the trust name. So most attorneys don't do that. Most people don't ever deal with that. They just let their clients try to figure it out. We actually do that for our clients. So if you look at a comprehensive, totally complete estate plan, that also would be part of it. So yeah, another thing for families with minor children, we also do what's called a kids protection plan, which deals with their guardianship if something ever happened to their parents. So that gets where we've named both temporary guardians, permanent guardians. We also do powers of attorney for the children, so that there's somebody else that can be authorized to, make a medical decision if they needed to, or a school-related decision if they needed to. So that's part of kids protection planning. We can even go so far as to include, like, as parents, your desires on how you want that kid raised, things you want them to be exposed to or to participate in. If you want them to be soccer kids, you can outline that. If you want them to learn how to play the violin, you can outline that. So those are all things that are part of a kids protection plan, and that is for families with minor children. It's good to have that all detailed and outlined, and we do include that also in our estate planning.